Good morning. I'm Kerry Timchuk, Executive Director of the Oregon Historical Society, and it's going to be my privilege in just a few minutes to be the Master of Ceremonies at Age Plus's first ever virtual Ageless Award Luncheon. It'll begin in 15 minutes, but this is a great time for you early birds to test your setup. You can make your donation today by texting the code AGELESS to 44321. That's AGELESS to 44321. And also make sure to participate in the chat window to the right of the screen and send us your feedback. And we'll be back with you at 11:30 sharp. See you then. Good morning. We're just 5 minutes away from kicking off the first ever virtual Ageless Award Luncheon. A reminder that the way to give today is by texting Ageless to 44321. That's AGELESS to 44321. And for those who, like me, aren't entirely text friendly, you'll be hearing about other ways to give today too during the lunch. You can also engage with others by participating in the chat window there on the right of your screen. And we'll begin at 11:30, just a few minutes away. See you back here then. Good morning, everybody. I'm Kerry Timchuk, Executive Director of the Oregon Historical Society, and it's my pleasure to serve again as Master of Ceremonies for the Ageless Plus, or the Age Plus Ageless Award Luncheon. I've had the privilege of serving as Master of Ceremonies for the past several years, but of course, the past several years we gathered at the Multnomah Club, elbow to elbow, a room full of people. Things have changed, as everybody knows, around the state and around the world, so here we are today for the first ever virtual Ageless Award Luncheon. And I'm here live in the lobby of the Oregon Historical Society in downtown Portland. We can't wait to be able to reopen to the public to show off our exhibits, which includes a fantastic exhibit we just opened up celebrating the centennial of women's suffrage, 100 years ago when women got the right to vote. And speaking of that, the amazing Susan B. Anthony once said that the older I get, the greater power I seem to have to help the world. I am like a snowball. The further I am rolled, the more I gain. And of course, here at the Ageless Award Luncheon, we are celebrating those individuals who, like Susan B. Anthony, get greater power as they get older, honoring those 75 years and above who are contributing amazingly to our state and our society. Before we begin today, I want to thank the amazing sponsors for supporting Age Plus. We have our Innovation Champion, Concepts and Community Living, Inc. We have our Founders Circle, Portland State University Foundation, Big Red, and Sean Cooney and Elizabeth Austin. We have our Third Age leaders, HealthNet, Kaiser Permanente, Manor Management Services, Inc., Providence Health and Services Oregon, The Standard, Stoll Reeves, Touchmark, the Touchmark Foundation, USI. Also, thanks as well to the Board of Directors for Age Plus for their commitment of time, talent, and treasure. And I want to mention that two very dear members and past awardees of the Ageless Award passed away this past year. Previous honorees, Rabbi Stamfer, and my pal, my partner in crime in many projects, the one and only Tough Mother, Gert Boyle. We're thinking about them today and thinking about their families. Okay, the way to give today is by texting the code AGELESS to 44321. That's AGELESS to the number 44321. You can click on the secure link, select your donation amount, and donate through an online payment provider like Apple Pay or GPay, or select another payment method that'll be on the list. Also, you'll be hearing more about how you can give other ways if you don't want to text. So also make sure to participate in the chat window to the right of the screen. Now, to kick things off, it's my pleasure to introduce the founder and CEO of Age Plus, and the person who in this very room last fall was the winner of the annual Jerry Frank Portland Celebrity Chocolate Cake Bake Off, the amazing Dr. Karen Brown Wilson. Let's hear from Karen.
Hello out there. Welcome to our first virtual Ageless Award Luncheon. I've been working with older adults for more than 40 years, and the impact of the coronavirus pandemic is among the most serious thing I have ever seen. It is deadly. Not only does it kill, but it has turned loneliness into deadly fear and isolation. Age Plus is used to working remotely, so we have been able to pivot quickly and turn our services to what's more needed in today's environment. We don't know how long this crisis will last, nor what it will be like after, but we know Age Plus will be there, and we know that we will use our community conversations when it's safe for us to do so, to use the voices of those in the community to help us frame a more equitable future for older Oregonians. However, today, we must turn our attention to more direct assistance. This is no time for fear or indecision. It's time to move forward with determination, and Age Plus will. We've all seen pictures in the media. We know people like that. They're our parents, they're our neighbors, they're our friends, and people we see everywhere we go. We know the stories of many of those people, and we know they need us more. And we will be there with your help. So today, more than ever, we're asking you to join us in this work on the behalf of older adults.
Thank you, Karen. We're here today, of course, all virtually gathered around the city and around the state to learn and support the amazing work of Age Plus. So to learn more about their mission and work, we have a video to share with you. Take a look at the video with me now.
I'm Dr. Karen Brown Wilson, the founder of Age Plus, an organization that empowers community of all ages to value and support older adults. I've been working in the field of aging for over 40 years. My first experience with aging was with my mother, who had a stroke at the age of 55. She said, "Why don't you do something to help people like me?" And my work has always been inspired by listening to what others said they needed. H Plus believes valuing and caring for older adults is an all-hands-on-deck proposition. It requires new thinking by employers, communities, and families. We know this strategy works and this approach works because we've been doing it for 20 years in the second poorest country in the Western Hemisphere, Nicaragua. And we demonstrated that even when there's not government support, communities will rally around if you help them figure out how to use the assets that they have. Older adults continue to be vital contributors to our communities as experienced workers and talented volunteers. Longer lives also present challenges in housing, mobility, healthcare, and basic caregiving. Those challenges are more pronounced for older adults who are isolated, poor, and underserved, often living in rural areas. Medicaid, Social Security are great sources of support, but they can't fill in all of the gaps that exist and are growing as our overall population ages. It's not enough for resources to be accessible. They also must be equitable and inclusive for all communities. Age Plus grew out of our promise to do something to improve the lives of older adults. Doing something means making room for older adults to continue to contribute to their communities as they are able and willing, uniting and empowering communities of all ages to respect the aging process and address the challenges it poses, helping grandparents raising grandchildren who don't fit into traditional boxes and get the support and resources they need to parent a second time around, developing affordable housing that incorporates universal design, and stimulating partnerships that mobilize community resources to support vulnerable older adults. After all, life's too valuable to waste at any age. Age Plus, doing something for older adults through communities, generations, and innovations.
Truly impressive work being done by Age Plus. I'm honored to celebrate today's honorees and support the important work that Age Plus is providing, the amazing support it gives to older adults across Oregon, and certainly that's never been more important than in these challenging times today. It's now my pleasure to introduce someone to you, a good friend, Dr. Bill Bolt. Bill has been in higher education for over 40 years and spent the first part of his career at Oregon State University, go Beavs, and University of Oregon, go Ducks, as a community and statewide nutrition director and professor. Also at Multnomah County, where he was director of the Oregon State University Cooperative Extension. He launched his 30-year advancement career at Cornell University, where he served 10 years as an assistant dean. He then traveled back to the West Coast, serving 10 years as vice president of advancement at Cal Poly State University in San Luis Obispo, and then 4 years as vice chancellor of advancement at UC Riverside. Most recently, Bill spent 9 years at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas as the vice president of university advancement. He has provided overall leadership for 3 successful comprehensive campaigns. With his teams, Bill has raised funding to create 2 new medical schools and over $1.2 billion with a B in private support. He came back to Oregon and joined the Portland State University Foundation as president, CEO, and Go Vikings in June 2016, and he'll be retiring in June 2020. Now here to share a few words, please welcome Dr. Bill Bolt.
Thank you very much, Carrie. Great introduction. I love it. Carrie and I are volunteering today because we believe in Dr. Brown's lifelong mission of improving the lives of senior citizens. And guess what? I turned 72 yesterday. My wife, Janine, is going to turn 70 this summer. And Karen, we are all in. As you heard from Karen in the video, her mom said, do something. The conditions I'm in the nursing home are not acceptable. What you didn't hear was Karen saying, what? And her mom saying, just do it. And she did. She started assisted care in this country. She started, again, assisted care in this country. How many people out there have had relatives in assisted care? My dad passed away about 3 years before my mom passed away. And I want to tell you, the last 3 years of my mom's life were some of the best. She had a great assisted care facility. She could have her dog. She had new friends. It just made the last part of her life. So thank you, Karen, for that. But Karen didn't do it just for people that could afford it. She did it for everybody. And she did it so that you could have affordable assisted care through Medicaid. And then that really wasn't enough for her. She saw some unmet needs in isolated senior citizens in rural areas, and Age Plus was born. Its mission is to provide a safety net of services to seniors in isolated rural areas where income levels are very low. Areas like Madras, Oregon, the Dalles, John Day, Washburn, Klamath Falls, and many others. Age Plus discovered that 40% of rural women are living on an average of $1,400 per month, and most live alone. Age Plus developed circles of care in the communities that I mentioned, supported by hundreds of volunteers. Let me share just 2 stories with you, and there are hundreds of stories. Mary, who is in her 80s, lived in her own home. She's wheelchair bound. She has a debilitating chronic condition. She lives off of her Social Security check, has no family close to where she lives. Age Plus provides groceries for her and has arranged for a regular friendly checkup by a local singing group. Can you imagine that? Who serenade her on a regular basis. I'd like that. Then there's John, who lives with and supports his disabled brother in an isolated rural home. His only income is a Social Security check. Age Plus provides regular friendly checkups for him. They connect him with local volunteers who help him with groceries. They help him care for his yard and give him wood for heating. And I want to tell you, this is just one of hundreds of stories out there. Every community has their own Mary and John. Every community, and especially rural communities, the Mary and Johns deserve the support and respect that is given to them by Age Plus, especially in these uncertain times. Just think about how all of you are feeling. My wife and I talk about it nightly. We're feeling isolated. We're away from our friends. We're away from our family. But we know it's temporary. It's not temporary for our rural citizens. It's permanent. It's an everyday life choice that they have, and that's it. They're isolated, they're lonely, and now they're in danger from COVID-19. Who's going to check on them? Well, Age Plus has circles of care in a number of rural communities and hundreds of volunteers. But we need circles of care in all rural communities in Oregon, and we need thousands of volunteers. And you can help today by giving generously. And I just want to say I'm so happy as a fundraiser. I love matches. And we have some added incentive for you to give generously. The Maybelle Clark McDonald Fund has stepped forward and committed to matching every gift made at the $250 level and above. That's, again, I want to say every gift. Incredible. So here's how this is going to work. You're going to make a gift today. I want you to text Ageless 44321, and then you'll be sent a giving link to select your giving level. You never have to leave your house to do this. It's great. So let me inspire you at a variety of levels. The $10,000 level can create a whole new caring community for rural folks, for hundreds of volunteers. And kicking in at this level, Robert and Barry Stoll. Now, I know them well. Robert is a wonderful champion for the homeless. Barry is on the PSU Foundation board. They're wonderful people. They've given generously to scholarships and public health. Thank you so much, Robert and Barry. And of course, our volunteer and our leader, Dr. Karen Brown Wilson and Michael Deshane, thank you at the $10,000 level. Now, look at that thermometer that's starting to go up there. It's incredible. Okay, at the $5,000 level, a gift of this size can provide training and support for 200 community volunteers. Just imagine what they could do. They can affect thousands of people. If you can make a gift of $5,000, I ask you to text again, Ageless to 44321, and it will be doubled. And kicking us off at this level, Sean Cooney and Elizabeth Austin. Thank you so much for that support. And look at that thermometer go up. I love it. Okay, now $2,500. These are all being matched. So remember, $2,500 turns into $5,000 thanks to your generous support. Thanks to the generous support of the Mabel Clark McDonald Fund. And it's just incredible. So please give. And I just want to, there's a couple of people that have already given, and it's Jim and Laura Meyer. And my friend, who is, I kind of stand on his shoulders. He was the former PSU Foundation CEO, Tony Lineweber. Thank you, Tony, and your wife, Heidi. We really appreciate that. You're also a board chair for Ageless. Thank you. And a $1,000 gift at this size. Wow. Okay, look at that go up. Look at that thermometer. Can provide volunteer in-home support for a number of people. So please, the $1,000 means so much. And look at, it's Tom and Marilyn Fink. They give to so many causes, and Tom is on our PSU Foundation board. Wonderful community members. And look at the RH Construction, and look at John Ward, look at Janet Sahan, and look at Joanne Handy, and look at Dan Valier. Amazing. Okay, now we're going down, and that thermometer is going up. Look at that thermometer. $500. A gift of this size can provide background checks for volunteers. Yeah, you need those too. And door-to-door transportation. Again, this level is being matched thanks to Paul Lumley, Lisa Watson, Laura Sobelson, Dave and Christine Vernier, who have done so much for this community and PSU. They're amazing people. Okay, now 250. Look at that thermometer is going up. Way up. Jay Bloom, Gary Mitchell, Vicki Schmall, Cameron Smith, Joyce Bizzie. Love it. And our next giving level, and let me just say what this giving level means. You may have already made a gift, but guess what? All those $250 gifts were matched, right? So Karen said, listen, my brother passed away. He was a rocket scientist. His name was Quentin. And she, in honor of Quentin, is going to match all $100 gifts. So if you've already made a gift, make another $100 gift. You get a double match. You get a match for the first gift you've made and another match for the $100 gift. I just think it's amazing. And I'll tell you, you're an angel, Karen Brown Wilson. And it's just a delight to work with you. And also, she's our incoming board chair with PSU Foundation. Thank you for all that you do. It's absolutely incredible. These critical funds in critical times are needed so badly. Gifts of all levels matter. So give generously at any level now, please. And we will check back later after a couple of videos, and I'll tell you our progress. Thank you so much.
And thanks, Bill. And remember, if texting your donation doesn't work for you, you can also write a check to Age Plus or give online to the donation page on their website. And now it's my pleasure to tee up our first honoree of the evening. She is the afternoon, excuse me. She's a great friend of mine and a true Oregon history maker, a true Oregon treasure. She was the second woman in Oregon history to be Speaker of the Oregon House of Representatives, and the first woman in Oregon history to be both the Speaker and to be her party's leader in the Oregon State Senate. And when Governor Brown was faced last year with appointing the Secretary of State to succeed Dennis Richardson after Dennis's passing, she chose incredibly well in choosing the one and only Bev Clarno to serve as Oregon Secretary of the State. So now join me in watching this video highlighting Bev Clarno.
Well, living purposefully for me means being involved in my community and doing what I can to help others. I enjoy serving on the State Land Board and having a rural voice from rural Oregon for us. And lots of times we feel left out, and it's nice to be here in Salem where I can bring a rural voice to the legislatures and to the Secretary of State's office. I think my early life lesson from my Girl Scout leader was how wonderful it was for me to have someone outside my family step in and meet a lot of needs that I didn't have, take me places, show me important things to know, teach me things about being a good person in my life. And part of that was saying, you've got to volunteer when you grow up and be somebody's Girl Scout leader. I'm raising a great-grandson, and I go to his school and have been in the last 5 years and help out in the classroom one day a week and see those kids smiled and happy to have a grandma in their classroom. It's very rewarding. I have a lot of concern about people not staying engaged. I think it's so important to stay engaged and be helpful to others because it makes you feel worthy. And I think that's really important. Who doesn't want to feel worthy? And that's my advice to everyone is do something you like. I don't think I've ever fully retired. I'm still involved in lots of boards in my community. So I've never been retired and not had anything to do. And I have 17 great-grandkids, so I think I've got plenty to keep me busy. I really think retirement is kind of misleading sometimes. Too many people retire and then they just sit down and not do anything. And I think if we can retire and still be active in our communities, we should do that. I volunteered to come back into government simply because I looked at this job and I thought, well, I used to work for the corporation division. When I was in the legislature for nearly 20 years, I was very involved with audits division. I just thought, this is a job I can do, and I talked to my husband about it, my biggest supporter in the world. So I put my name in, and I was fortunate enough to be chosen. Some of the challenges of being my age is, I think maybe having people wonder why you're doing this and wondering if you'll be able to be up to the task. I know the governor felt I could do this or she wouldn't have appointed me. And I think a lot of people at 75 and older are capable of doing many more things than they allow themselves to. And I really feel like that if they're not getting involved, they should try it, they might like it.
Oregon is incredibly fortunate that Bev chose to come back from Redmond and to come back to Salem and serve as our Secretary of State. We are so fortunate to have her there, a public servant of intelligence and integrity, bipartisanship. And now join me, and we're going to hear a few words from Bev herself.
I'm extremely honored to receive this award. And I remember last year, a year ago, I'd just been appointed Secretary of State and attended this luncheon, and I'd like to share with you the talk that I gave then. At being appointed by the governor to serve as Secretary of State at 83 years old was indeed a very good honor. Everybody said, gosh, you're 83, and I said, 83 is just a number. It's the experience you have in your life that counts. So I'm the most experienced Secretary of State Oregon's ever had. I would just tell you that as a lifelong volunteer, to me, I would like very much to be an inspiration to others, to get up and do things. I've always felt if you sit down too long, you may never get up. My husband and I are extremely pleased to be raising a great-grandson, and a while back he was in the car and he was using his cell phone and he said, Google, who's the Secretary of State of Oregon? And Google came back and said, the Secretary of State of Oregon is Bev Clarno. And he yelled from the back seat, Grandma, Grandma, Google knows you. So then I knew I was doing a good job because Google knows who I am. But again, I'd like to thank the Ageless Awards Luncheon. I'm sorry we weren't able to have a luncheon and have another 350 people like last year. I hope we'll soon all be together. I hope everyone stays well. And thank you again for the honor of receiving this award. Thank you.
Google, who is Executive Director of the Oregon Historical Society? Google? No answer. Thank you, Bev, and congratulations again. And thank you again for all you provided to Oregonians for so many years. Our next honoree is Terry Pancoast, an attorney at Stoll Reeves. I'm privileged to serve with Terry on a board here in Portland. He is just a phenomenal citizen. And let's learn more about Terry.
When I joined the law firm in 1968, there were no women lawyers, which is not unusual. There were very few women lawyers in Oregon at the time. And right from the beginning, I was a persistent and some would say outspoken advocate for our hiring and supporting and promoting women lawyers. And that has been a big success. And I think that our firm has been leaders in that in the Oregon community, and we are much stronger by having a great cadre of women lawyers. I think we all have something to contribute, and older people have years of experience and I dare say even accumulated wisdom that could be of importance to the community. And then it's being engaged has its own personal rewards, and so I think those shouldn't be discounted. I didn't retire earlier because I really enjoy what I do, both in the law firm and in the community, and I get psychic and other rewards from being involved. And frankly, I'm not a great one for lying on the beach. Not that I don't enjoy leisure activities, but it's not a substitute for actually remaining engaged. Being interested in a lot of things, I think, is very helpful. And we love to travel, and I like to go to some unusual places where the travel may be focused around conservation or environmental issues or whatever. My wife and I in the last 4 years have been to Africa 3 times and the Arctic once, and all just fascinating experiences. I think living purposely probably means different things to different people, but to me, it's engaging with and trying to contribute to my communities in an intentional way, and that is consistent with my own personal abilities and resources. I'm very fond of a quote from the great baseball pitcher and philosopher Satchel Paige, who said, "How old would you be if you didn't know how old you are?" And I think that really has resonated with me. And I mean, who wants to act their age after all? But I think that age is just a number, and what you do is how you feel. And I don't feel as old as the calendar says I am.
Thank you. Just down the street from us at Portland State University is a big sign that says the words of C.E.S. Wood, which says, "Good citizens are the riches of a city." There's no doubt that Terry Pancoast is one of the riches here of Portland. Let's hear some words from Terry right now.
Thank you, Carrie, for that nice introduction. And thank you to Age Plus for naming me as one of the recipients of this year's Ageless Award. I'm really honored and grateful for the award. I don't know if everyone can see this, but it's really a gorgeous award, a true work of art. And my plan is to keep it in a prominent place in my house, where it'll be kind of a visual reminder to me of the importance of community and of staying engaged. I also especially want to thank Age Plus and the Jesse F. Richardson Foundation for the wonderful work they do in improving conditions and opportunities for vulnerable and underserved older people, both in Oregon, and elsewhere. It's really important work, and by all accounts, they're very affected at it. So thank you for that. And I also want to acknowledge the other two recipients of this year's Ageless Award, Bev and Leroy. Your achievements and your stories are truly inspirational. So thank you very much for all that you do. So these are really extraordinary times. The coronavirus pandemic and the necessary steps that have been taken to combat it resulted in a disaster of really epic proportions. Perhaps relevant particularly to the focus of this event, the virus has hit older people, particularly those who are vulnerable either physically or economically, particularly hard. But the fact of the matter is that it's been really devastating for individuals and families of all ages, as well as workers and businesses and nonprofit organizations. As bad as the situation is, I am acknowledging, as we must, the suffering and losses that have already occurred and are likely to continue to occur. I'm confident that in the end we will recover from this, and I'm hopeful that some good will come out of it. One thing that I think this whole situation has demonstrated is that the important role, or even a critical role, that older people, by virtue of their experience and their expertise, can play in addressing the problems caused by a situation like the coronavirus. I guess Dr. Anthony Fauci is Exhibit A, but there are many thousands of older people, both locally and nationally, who are playing extremely important roles in addressing the situation. More broadly, I think the effects of the coronavirus have demonstrated to all of us how interconnected we all are, as well as the immense power that exists with in terms of community in responding to a crisis. So, it's really remarkable what the way people have rallied around to assist one another in both practical and in emotional support ways. So I hope that what we've learned about interconnectedness and about the importance of community can really survive after this is all ended, and that we can maybe continue in some significant measure to incorporate those in society and have it improve society. I could go on, but my allotted time is already expired. So I just want to say in closing, be safe out there and continue to look after your family and friends and neighbors. And thank you again, Age Plus, for this wonderful award.
Thank you, Terry, and congratulations again, a most deserving recipient of the Ageless Award. Let's do a quick check-in with Bill. Bill, you there? How are we doing on fundraising?
It is unbelievable. We have set an all-time record already, $113,236. Incredible. And I know many of you, with the stock market being down, have really dug deep, and I can't thank you enough. Let's start with Mary Dick, $1,000. And Mary, happy birthday. I know it's coming up. She's one of our board members. And Don Vollum, he's our board chair. Thank you, Don. You give so generously. to PSU and our Resiliency Fund. Thank you so much. Tina Castaneras has made 2 gifts at $2,000. Amazing. Stephanie Hooper, $1,000. And then board member Marvin Kaiser and his wife, Betsy, $1,000. And I have a little message from board member Mary Yeager and Jerry Walker in honor of Gert Boyle. The U.S. and the world could use her vision, strength, creativity, and humor right now. $1,000. Thank you so much. Annette Kendall from First Republic Bank. Good bank. $1,000. Former board member Nicholas Mayer. $1,000. Karen Barber, First Republic Bank, $1,000. Board member Dave Chardonneau, 2 gifts at $1,000. Margaret Neal and David Leckie, $1,000. Diana Hood of Marywoods, $1,000. Del Zook at $500. George Thurston at $500. Dave Munson at $500. Terry Molina at $500. Sharon Connolly at $500. Linda Stetchfield at $500. It just goes on and on and on. And Mark Miller and Phyllis Shelton and Sarah Schwartz. Sarah, congratulations on being the new CEO of the Portland State University Foundation. I couldn't have picked a better person. The board is very wise. Mary Selby, Susan Ehrman, Paul Schlesinger. It goes on and on. Betsy Fry. Hey, Betsy, how you doing out there? One of our board members. And of course, Wally Van Valkenburg, 250. Dick Solomon, another board member, 250. Fred Miller, on and on. Can you believe this? $113,000, Carrie, $492, surpassing all of our goals in the past. Thank you so much for digging deep during these difficult times.
Well, that's great. Amazing. Thank you. Thank you to everyone for their generosity. And remember, if texting your donation doesn't work for you, you can also write a check to Age Plus or give online through a donation page on their website. You know, housing is always important here, but never more important than today as we go through the crisis we're going through now. And our final honoree is Leroy Patton, co-founder and president of the Fair Housing Council of Oregon. Let's learn a little more now about Leroy.
It was pretty clear to me that the discrimination in housing was rampant. So I worked with the NAACP and Urban League in working on what issues we could do with the city council and with the state and so forth. Well, not much came out of that except a lot of meetings and a lot of discussion. And as a result, I came in contact with a guy named Phil Yates, who started the Fair Housing Council of Oregon. And because of our relationship, he asked me to be a co-sponsor for setting it up. So that's what we did. So many people have said to me, well, how did you get this, and this going? But one of the things people don't think about is when you get financial connections, people want you to compromise what you're doing for what works for them. I don't think there's a compromise for fair housing. People don't really understand how complicated and difficult the housing market is when you have no voice, no opportunity to open up anything for yourself. You're at everybody else's whim. Real estate boards, the developers, the city council, the state, everybody has a voice but you. If I'm not involved as a black person, you're not going to open the door and say, well, come on in, we'll include you too. And whatever I bring to the table, if you've never talked to me, never associated with me, without fair housing, all you have is a poverty-directed community. 1990, I believe, I became the board chair, and I'm still the board chair. Living a good life is sharing your life with other people. And the only way you can share your life with other people is by doing it. And it's the doing that changes your mind, your acceptance, your learning, your doing whatever you're doing because of the connection. And so my inspiration is internal. As I see it, it's an internal drive to make the world a better place.
You know, the late, great Oregon Governor Tom McCall once said that heroes are not giant statues framed against a red sky. They are individuals who say, this is my community, and it's my responsibility to make it better. By that definition, Leroy Patton, like Bev, like Terry, are true heroes because they are truly making their community better. Let's hear a few words from Leroy right now.
Well, I don't know about inspiration. To me, inspiration is what's already in you. My suggestion to everyone is include everybody you can when you're doing anything, whether you're at home or on a project. Include as many people as are interested. I appreciate getting it. What it does for me is I think it makes people that know me think different maybe about what they can do or how this impresses them. Become a volunteer with your favorite organization. You'll never be sorry.
Thank you, Leroy, and congratulations to you, to Bev, to Terry. What a class of 2020 honorees of the Ageless Plus Award. Now let's bring Bill back for an update. Bill, that thermometer keeps going up and up.
I love it. I love it, Carrie. And I want to tell you, you were an amazing MC. Thank you so much for volunteering your time. So we're at $114,000, again, an all-time record. And you can still make a gift in any amount by texting Ageless to 44321. And, you know, loneliness leads to despair, and really it goes to the will to live for many of our isolated seniors. And so we really appreciate everything that folks have done here. It will allow us to recruit volunteers. It will allow us to support those volunteers and to take care of tens of thousands of those seniors that really need your support. It's a lifeline, and I can't thank you enough. Please continue to give. So appreciated, and thank you again.
Thanks, Bill. And a little extra motivation if you've given, maybe to give again. The next 25 gifts of any amount, $100 or above, will also get a free one-year membership in the Oregon Historical Society. So someone's keeping track there on the other end of the next 25 gifts, and Karen will get me their names and addresses, and you'll be getting all our great material in the mail soon. So thank you, Bill, for making the pitch, and thanks to everyone.
I have one more person to recognize, my wife, who just tapped me on the shoulder and said, Bill, aren't you going to give? Of course I am. So we're making a $500 gift, and I want to take that even higher. So terrific, and thank you, Janine, for reminding me.
Well, Bill, thank you for joining me today from your home. And I want to thank our production partners at Swaim Strategies, who made today possible, scattered all throughout Portland in their own homes, making magic happen virtually. This live broadcast is now going to be rerunning. We're going to be a rerun. It's going to be repeating video on this same online location. We ask you all to share this link with your friends and family so that donations can continue. And let me end with the words of Harry Truman in this time. And President Truman once said that America was not built on fear. America was built on courage, on determination, on courage, on imagination, and on an unbeatable determination to do the job at hand. That's where we are now. We have some problems facing this country, of course, but we're going to meet them with courage, with imagination, and with an unbeatable determination to do the job at hand. Congratulations again to Bev, to Terry, to Leroy, and thank all of you for supporting Ageless Age Plus. We'll see you hopefully next year, live and in person. Until then, thanks again.